What's up, everybody? Last week we started the brand new season of Warzone and Modern Warfare 2, Season 5, and just like every other season, we started off with getting two brand new weapons, and we'll get more in the mid-season. The two new weapons to start off the season were the new assault rifle, the FR Avancer, and the brand new 300 Carrick sniper rifle. Today we're going to talk about the FR Avancer and where it fits into the meta. Does it fit in the meta? Is it worth using? Short answer is no, it's not. It's not good enough at range. It's not good enough at being a sniper support. You can use it. You can make it work. In fact, I think Breadman has been running it as a sniper support, but it's not the best AR sniper support option, and it certainly is not beating out SMGs. I'm going to go ahead and give you a sniper support loadout for it. I don't think it's worth using long range at all. It's very similar to the Tempest Razorback. It's not going to compete long range well at all. So we're going to go ahead and skip a long range loadout. Normally, I like to look at both long range and sniper support. But just like the FFAR, before, this thing is better in a sniper support role. But unlike the FFAR, it is not a very good sniper support. So let's go ahead and jump into the loadout. And then as usual, I'll go to true game data. I'll show you some stat comparisons of why I don't think this is very good. And you can make your own decision, but personally, I just really don't think it's worth it. All right, and we're looking at the loadout here. Once again, this is Breadman's loadout. Breadman is using a sniper support, swears it's a good sniper support. I don't agree. I think the Chimera is the better AR sniper support. I think the ISO is the better SMG sniper support, or even the Hurricane, maybe the Vel now. I don't think that this is worth using. So if you haven't leveled it up, I wouldn't worry about leveling it up right now. It could get buffed into the meta, but it's not gonna. The build here, we're going to start off with the Komodo Heavy Muzzle. The Komodo Heavy Muzzle is going to give us horizontal recoil control, which horizontal recoil control is the hardest recoil control to control. Or it's the hardest recoil to control, as we know. The tune here, we're going to have plus 0.52 towards recoil stabilization and plus 0.3 towards recoil control. If you tune the other directions, often, note on tuning, they don't really change as much as the tuning directions that I always give. The other directions usually don't change anything, and if they do, it's very minuscule, whereas you get a lot bigger changes changing in these directions. Then we have the 600 millimeter FR long bore barrel. That one's going to give us damage range, hipfire accuracy, and bullet velocity. The damage range, the hipfire accuracy, pretty important for a sniper support because obviously, you know, you have that cutoff where you're comfortable using a sniper support, and then you're switching to your sniper past that. The 435 gives you recoil control, hip recoil control, and bullet velocity. Doesn't give you the damage range. Where the 600 millimeter only hurts ADS and hip recoil control, but then the 435, which oddly, even though it's the shorter barrel, apparently hurts movement speed. That's odd. And aim down sight speed. They both hurt aim down sight speed. And then there's a 395 mini bore, which helps aim down sight speed and hip recoil control, but it hurts bullet velocity, hurts damage range, and hurts hip fire accuracy. Those are three things you don't want when you're using it in somewhat of an SMG sniper support role. The tuning for the 600 millimeter FR barrel is going to be negative 0.35 down towards aim walking speed, because once again, the recoil steadiness doesn't really change a whole lot. And then negative 0.31 towards aim down sight speed, because the damage range tuning doesn't really change a whole lot. Then we go with the 45 round mag. If you're running solos, you can go no mag, and then you could go an optic, you could go a laser, something to speed up that ADS time. 60 round mag, you're really hurting your ADS, your movement speed, your sprint to fire speed, more so than you are with the 45. Stick with the 45. If you're using the sniper support, that should be enough. Then from there, we're going to the WMG TAC stock. If you look at the other stock, it helps with aim, walking speed, and sprint speed, where this helps with crouch, move speed, sprint speed, and aim down sight speed. You're not getting the aim down sight speed, and so we're going to go with the WMG TAC. It does hurt recoil control, but if you're using the sniper support, not a huge deal. The stock then gets a negative 3.35 tuning down towards aim down sight and a negative 1.39 towards aim walking speed. And then finally we have the RMT grip. The RMT grip is going to help with sprint to fire speed and aim down sight speed. The other grips help with flinch resistance, not too worried about that. And then recoil control. Once again, if you're using this for range, this is an option worth considering, but I would stick with the RMT grip. The tuning is going to be negative 0.52 down towards aim down sight speed, and sprint to fire speed is going to be negative 0.29 towards the left. If you do want to run this as a range build, what I would really recommend is dropping the stock and the rear grip for the usual F-Tac Ripper, and then an optic is what I would go with, and then I would switch to the 60 round mag. Now I tried it, it's not very good, it's not worth it. You're better off using any of the other meta long range options, which we'll kind of talk about when we go to true game data. But this is your sniper support loadout. Try it if you so wish to, but I would more stick with the Chimera or the ISO for sniper support. And for long range, I would stick with some of the options that we'll talk about, the Seiken, the TAC-V. If you want a similar gun, the Tempest Razorback is very similar, depending on where the range is. They have their gives and takes. I would even rather use something like the Lockman 5.56, the ISO Hemlock, the TAC-56. Just they feel better at range, even though the time to kills are arguable. But if that's the loadout and that's all you needed, I do appreciate you stopping by. Thank you so much. For the rest of us, we're going to go ahead and jump over to true game data and look at it versus the two sniper supports and then some long range options. All right, so starting off with the sniper support category, you can see here we have the Chimera, the FR Advancer, the ISO 45. Now, I don't have any attachments on the Chimera or the ISO 45 because the FR Advancer stats on true game data don't have the attachments yet. I know that Tony, who runs true game data, he tweeted that he's working on it, but this is enough data, just having the base data to compare, because anything we do with like the Chimera and the ISO, we're going to do similarly to the FR Advancer, and they'll be affected similarly, so the chart will still look pretty much the same. Now here, we're looking at the time to kill chart. We're looking at it with 300 health. Now this is chest. If you look at the chest shots, the ISO, even after its second drop off, even after its first drop off, it has to drop off a second time. And not long after it drops off, it's now back to being somewhat competitive with the Chimera. And obviously you're not shooting this at range, but then the ISO catches back up. But in these close range engagements, especially under 10 meters up to this about 9 meter mark, you are getting destroyed by the ISO. And all the way up to 18 meters, you're losing out to the ISO, as long as, someone with the ISO 45 is able to control it. And we don't get a split between the Chimera and the FR Advancer until we're at the 23 meter mark, and now you're starting to consider, do I pull out my sniper or not? And then when the FR Advancer drops off at the about 30 meter mark, it's 29.8. Now you're really starting to get into, do I use my sniper? And as you get deeper out, they are kind of more matched. The Chimera has some bigger gaps when it drops off versus the drop off with the FR Advancer. But up close, where it matters the most, all the way up until that first drop off, they're either the Chimera's winning or they're similar, and I prefer the Chimera over the FR Advancer. And like I said, neither of them are going to compete with the ISO, especially if you go sprint to fire time, or you go ADS time. And if you go ADS time, now the FR Advancer has a bigger gap with the Chimera, but they're still both getting destroyed by the ISO. You go to headshot. Now, if you go to headshot, the FR Advancer is beating out the Chimera in every range, but we can't rely on hitting all headshots. If you look at stomach shot, it's the same graph pretty much as the chest shot, just with a different time, just a slightly slower time to kill. Neck shots are the same. Upper arm's a little bit closer, but pretty similar. So it's really only making a difference if you're hitting all headshots, and we know that people aren't hitting all headshots. You look at the table, and once again, this doesn't have any of the attachments on there, but the ADS time is the longest for the Advancer by a decent amount. The bullet velocity is the best. The Chimera bullet velocity isn't very good, but that is factored in the time to kill, and it doesn't make enough of a difference. The fire rate is a lot higher on the FR Advancer, which means it's eating through ammo a lot more to achieve that time to kill than the Chimera, so you're going to be reloading more. The sprint speed is the movement speed is actually faster on the Advancer. But if you're using an AR as a sniper support, you're probably not all too worried about that, in my opinion. And the sprint to fire and the tactical sprint to fire are identical for the Chimera and the FR Advancer. So without the Advancer having a clear advantage anywhere, it's just not worth using. You can use it, but I personally still think the Chimera is the better sniper support. So then, what about using it for long range? Once again, no attachments on any of these long range options. I have the FR Advancer, then I have the TAC-V, which, depending on your preference, it's either the TAC-V or the Cronus. Either the Cronin or the TAC-V. I know a lot of people have moved to the TAC-V, but a lot of people stayed with the Cronin despite its nerf. I wouldn't put the TAC-V on there because the TAC-V seems to be the more popular option. Then I have the Seiken on there. The Seiken's not the fastest killing LMG, but I think it is becoming the most popular LMG, except maybe the HCR. And then we have the Hemlock. I've seen people moving back to the Hemlock, so I threw that on there. And then we have the Tempest Razorback, which the FR Avancer is the most similar to. I mean, they're both bullpup rifles. Didn't do that on purpose, but they're both bullpup rifles. And they just have similar feels and yada yada. So we go down to the chart here. It's a little bit messy here, so let's just one by one. We'll go ahead and get rid of everything except the TAC-V and the FR Avancer. Once again, this is chest shots, but the TAC-V at every single range is beating the FR Avancer. Headshots, now the FR Avancer is competing, but once again, at long range, it's getting blown away by the TAC-V, and it's only beating the TAC-V from 31 meters to 40 meters, to about a 9-meter range where it's truly beating out the TAC-V. And then at long range, where you're really going to be using these, because you could get caught with an SMG at 20-something meters and blah, blah, blah. But at long range, where it really matters, the gap is huge. It's huge at headshots. At chest shots, it's still pretty big. Neck shots, same as chest shots. Stomach shots at range, once again, where it really is going to matter, the TAC-V is winning. And then they're kind of give or take even-ish in the mid-range, and short range, yes, the FR Avancer is winning, but you're going to be using your SMG a lot in this range. Upper arm looks very similar to the chest, and really only in stomach shots does the FR Avancer have a true argument against the TAC-V. We're going to go back to chest shots, get rid of the TAC-V. We're going to look at the Seiken now. Now, the Seiken one, chest shots, it's losing in that short to short mid-range. But once you get to the mid-range and the long range, the Seiken is blowing the FR Avancer out of the water. Headshots, once again, it gets more arguable, but long range, once again, Seiken blowing the FR Avancer out of the water. Stomach shots, very similar. But I would argue that the Seiken, or it's not even argued, the Seiken has now closed the gap when you're looking at stomach shots. Upper arm shots, the Seiken creates a bigger gap. All the limb damages are the same, and so now we're looking at the Seiken, it's losing out to the Seiken. Alright, so let's look at the ISO Hemlock, which I've seen a lot of people go back to. Now, you have an argument here for the FR Avancer over the ISO Hemlock, but I personally think the Hemlock is easier to control. You're going to be hitting more shots, and the time to kills are so similar to so many of the ranges. I care more about hitting more shots than I do about which one has a slightly faster time to kill, because if you're missing shots, you're not getting a faster time to kill. I think the Hemlock's easier to use, personally. And this is chest shots. You look at headshots, the gap is actually a little bit bigger. Neck shots, very similar to the chest shots. Stomach shots, gaps get bigger. So this is really up to you. Extremity damage is bigger. But like I said, I think the Hemlock is easier to use. If you find the FR Avancer easier to use and you're arguing between these two, then go with the Avancer. But I think the Hemlock's an easier to use AR. So finally, Tempest Razorback, the most similar AR. And as you can see, it really is the most similar AR. Chest shots, the Tempest Razorback at range is beating out by a good amount. But in the short to mid-range, they're pretty even. Headshots, the gap does change a lot, where the FR Avancer in the short and the mid-range is better, but long-range headshots are better with the Tempest Razorback. Stomach, they're give or take even, but once again, at long range, we're looking at the Tempest Razorback being better. So the FR Avancer has no clear advantage over any of these weapons, and when you bring it all back, the Hemlock is the worst on this chart at range. It is the worst at range, but when you're looking at chest shots where most shots should be or are hitting, we're looking at the the FR Avancer not really being a whole lot better than the Hemlock, and at range losing to the Razorback and getting demolished by both the TAC-V and the Seiken. Little hidden thing here in the Seiken, if you're on Mazrah and you find the Seiken easier to use than the TAC-V, definitely use the Seiken. And, you know, I mentioned the Seiken's not the fastest killing LMG. In my opinion, the Rap H is also very easy to control, and it is faster killing. So when we throw that on there now, and we look at the chart, the Rap H is beating out everything in the long range. And when we take it just to the Rap H and the FR Avancer, the gap is even wider than it was with the Seiken. And so the FR Avancer, just to me, has no clear use in Warzone. It's going to get blown away in the short ranges as a sniper support by most of the SMGs. In the long range, in the mid-long to the long range, it's losing out to any of the popular options at long range. I mean, here we can take out the TAC-V just for the other popular option for battle rifles with the Cronin Squall. Go to all weapons, take out everything except the Cronin Squall and the FR Avancer. a little more even than the TAC-V, but still losing at long range. And so it's just, of any of the choices people are making for weapons right now, it's losing out to any of the popular choices. It's not much better than its most similar comparison with the Tempest Razorback. So, sum it all up, I think the FR Avancer is useless until it gets some kind of buff or some other weapons get a nerf, which we could see in the future. We saw the Cronin be kind of useless when it first came out, and then it got a nice buff. It became the meta for a while. Got a small nerf, didn't really drop out of the meta, but wasn't used. Got another buff, went right back into the meta. And so we could see something similar with the FR Avancer. We haven't seen it with the Tempest Razorback, despite the buff it recently got. So it's kind of a wait and see. Level up the FR Avancer if you have the time, or you want to wait and see, and if it does happen, you want to be ready. But for now, if you got limited time, stay away from the FR Avancer until further notice. But those are my thoughts. I'll go ahead and link True Game data below if you want to do some analysis on your own. You want some of your own thoughts. That will be linked down below. And so on my Twitch, if you want to come into my stream, see me use it, just put it in my chat. I'll quick throw a loadout back on because I'm going to get rid of this loadout that I have because I'm not going to use it. I like to keep my loadouts clean, but I will use it. Or if you want to see me do anything else in Warzone, Twitch is linked down below. Please follow, check me out, say hey in a stream, always make my day. And all my social medias will also be linked down below, so please feel free to follow me there on those as well. Comment, follow, whatever, always makes my day when I get some interaction on any of my socials. So please follow me down, those are down below, please follow me there as well. But I will see you on Mazrah, Ashika, and Vondel. Get frying, have a good day, bye.